on the farm, but I had no idea who she actually was to me. And I mean, my mom is mixed race, so she looked nothing like me. So I could not connect the two of us in any circumstance or anything. So I think around about 5, 6, I kind of figured out, okay, so this woman is my mother. But then we called her Sandra, which I still call her today. And she insisted on it. She was like, just call me Sandra. and which made it even more complicated, of course. And so then I came and I stayed in Newlands with my grandmother. And then I was only fluent in Afrikaans. So then that messed me up again, because then I started forgetting Tswana and could only speak Afrikaans. So I was just a confused child. And then all of a sudden, then I went to an English school. And of course, what happened, I forsake all other languages and I take English alone.
Which school did you go to?
I went to St. Teresa's primary school, which is in Coronation. That was grade 1 and 2, and then we moved in with my stepdad, and then we went to better schools. And so then I went to Cliffview Primary, which is in Fairlands, and then I went to Northcliffe High. So yeah, then that took another turn altogether. Then all of a sudden we had like a father figure present, and that kind of took a different role, you know, in my life.
And then you left school and?
Then I left school and I thought I was going to become a journalist. And then my mom was like, no, you're going to do something with numbers. And I did for 1 year. And I passed it just so that I could show her that I wasn't doing words because I'm dumb. I'm doing words because I genuinely had a connection with words. And so I passed it, and I said, and I took my my pass report thing, and I gave it to my mom, and I was like, there, I proved to you that I'm not dumb. I can do numbers. I just don't want to. So I left UJ, and I left my degree in business, entrepreneurial management. And then I went with UNISA. Then I studied communication science, because my goal before I became the news was to actually report on the news. So I was going to become a news anchor and journalist. So that's hopefully still going to happen, if anyone's listening. No.
Can I just ask you, it's very poignant, this thing of reconciliation. What about your dad's family?
Oh, yes.
Is there any way?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, that is something we've been working on, especially recently. I think it's more the kids that are starting to mesh together now, and my aunt as well, my father's sister. And unfortunately, my grandmother passed away in this period, so we knew them. We did visit, like, but it was like, I think 10 times in my whole lifetime that we've actually visited them. So, but unfortunately my grandmother passed away and we weren't able to attend the funeral. Oh, we did, no, we did. Just not the unveiling of the tombstone and stuff. So we attended the funeral for that, and of course the family got together. So with my cousins, we're trying to start to kind of formulate a relationship, but we come from such different stratospheres of the world, you know, so we're struggling, but we're doing it. We're doing the work. You know, slowly but surely we're starting to build something, so that there isn't that resentment or anger there. Yeah.
If I can just mention, it just occurs to me a very weird connection between us, but weird indeed. The guy whom I met, Henry van der Westhuizen, I didn't even know who he was. I hadn't heard of him, but he was going to the Truth Commission and he wanted to see me. Now I'm Judge Albie Sachs. He's an ex-soldier, and he sees me in my chambers, and I've told the story many times, and I don't feel like going through, you know, it's a recital for me. In a sense it'll happen with you. And I hope you tell the story to many people, many times. It's a very beautiful story, and you tell it with clarity and with a kind of sincerity. But you'll find you're saying the same thing to different audiences, and the same thing, and maybe in different countries, and sometimes on film, and sometimes on radio. And you've got to come to terms with that yourself, one way and another, but feel authentic, that it's real each time, that it matters each time, that each audience is different. So you're not just a parrot that's you know, put the money in and the parrot talks. It's not like that at all. On the contrary, it's very human and very necessary. But I don't feel like myself repeating my story. There's enough emotion in this room, a very, very lovely emotion. But just to mention that in the case of Henry, he told me he was going to the Truth Commission. Maybe you haven't heard this. And I always mention when he walked into my office, he was striding like a soldier, and I tried to slow him down like a judge. You know, men are always fighting for control. And in the end, he told me, he looked around my office, I haven't mentioned this, he saw a pot plant, nice pictures there, and he's like envious. And he's now been chucked out of the army, he got a small payout, and this is what was a point I've never mentioned before, is that he set up some kind of arms trading company with a certain Eugene de Kock. And then his pal Eugene de Kock is now in the mire. This is 96, I think he spoke to me, and he's kind of almost wanting a bit of sympathy from me. He even said he was injured in one leg. And I said, Henry, I have to get on with my work, and I can't shake your hand, but go to the Truth Commission, and who knows. And when he left, he was just shuffling his way out. But in a sense, I was like in charge of everything, you know, of the information of myself. He was coming to me, he was going to the Truth Commission, and I was getting information from him. And I wanted to feel we're starting to live in the same country. That when it's all over, he'll be living somewhere in South Africa, I'll be living somewhere in South Africa. And we can't get on if we're still thinking of ourselves as combatants. It's not only with rancor, you know, but with fear and mystery and so on. I just felt a bit liberated, a bit freed by the whole experience myself. In any event, time passed, I forgot about him, and I'm at a party at the end of the year, and then I hear this voice, Albie, Albie, and there I see him, I'm amazed. I'd hardly, you know, I'd forgotten what he even looked like, and he's beaming, and he comes up to me, and the band's playing at the end of the year. It was Issy Dingle, you know Issy Dingle? They were having film people, and apparently someone was making a film about Henry van der Westhuizen. There were only 2 soldiers who went to the TRC. Lots of police, but only 2 soldiers. He was one of 2, so I had to film about him. And he said, I spoke to Bobby and Sue and Farouk, and I told them everything I knew, and you said one day, and I put out my hand, and I shook his hand, just spontaneously. I almost fainted. It wasn't automatic, and he went away smiling and happy. I heard afterwards he went home and he cried for 2 weeks. I don't know if it's true or not. I like to believe it's true. So I'm not checking up. I'd rather stay with the belief that he did that than find out he didn't go home and he went to have a few beers. That would be awful. In any event, so that's the kind of weird connection. Eugene de Kock did spill the beans. In a sense, he was the most vicious and terrible of the killers, the professional. Even when he gave his evidence, he did it with that same attention to detail that he used planning assassinations. You know, it's a kind of a mind that he had, that all the details subordinated to the project, to the moment. And yet, in a profound way, he spoke about it. And Henry, maybe encouraged by what de Kock was doing, I'm not sure, thought he would speak to me. Maybe he thought it would make it easier for him. Maybe he was just curious, I don't know. I like to feel it was a mixture of all these different things. I mean, that's that very weird connection between us, between the two people who happen to be the individuals who caused so much mayhem. Do you have any questions for me?
Wow, yes. No, but you know what I'm curious about? For me, my forgiveness was a journey, and that's something I always highlight. It's not I make a decision today, 21 days later, you're okay. You know, and I want to know the process for you. Did it come at the moment that it came to you, or was it an internal process as I'd assume it would be?
I've never used the word forgiveness. You did. It was appropriate in your circumstances. It made sense. Imagine if Henry said, Judge Sachs, I'm sorry I blew off your arm. He couldn't say that. It would have been an absurd statement. I was glad he didn't say anything like that. I didn't want apology from him. He's going to the Truth Commission. That's set up to receive information, not even apologies, to receive information. The secrecy now becoming factual information that people can share. Somebody, Martha Nussbaum in America, a very, very wonderful political philosopher, is writing a book on forgiveness. She said she read Mandela's long, long walk to freedom. She didn't find the word forgiveness there once. And yet he's assumed to be the apostle of forgiveness. So for me, it's something else. Forgiveness for Desmond Tutu fits in with his confessional Christian belief system. It's very central. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive them those who trespass against us. Yes, exactly. That's not part of my background. Partly it was secular, but our background was, you know, there are dreams, and dreams, if you like, about eternity and meaning. But the dreams are very much in this world, of this world. And we used to say we're fighting a system. And the system oppresses even the oppressors, in the sense it makes them narrow-minded and vicious and nasty and destroys their own humanity. And in that sense, the liberation of our country liberates everybody in the nation, gives them a chance to do that. I would say almost to a fault. I remember when I was defending people, we call it the Philip Gesana trial, 1960, about 25,000 people marched from Langa and Nyanga to the center of Cape Town, could have taken it over, sat outside the magistrate's court and wanted to speak to the Minister of Justice, Prime Minister. Parliament was just round the corner, but well behaved, conducting themselves. Eventually someone speaks to them, go back home, we'll speak to you tomorrow. And tomorrow they wake up and the army and the navy were called out, the locations, we call them, were surrounded, state of emergency declared, they're locked up. Then the trial. These were PAC people. It was also a bit ironical, I was known as ANC, but I'm defending PAC. I never took any money for any of these cases, but I'm defending people for they're fighting, not fighting us, they're fighting against racism, fighting for justice. Any event, their position was no bail, no defense, no fine. But three of them, of the people in the trial, happened to be ANC people. The police were not very accurate in who they picked up. So I was defending the three, and then the PAC defended themselves. And what was amusing, this is a little bit of our history, was I would go first, and I would say, I put it to you, Sergeant so-and-so, something, and I'd sit down, and then a minute later, Philip Gesana would get up. I put it to you and used exactly the same gestures. And then Makwetu, Magwebi, all the others, they all copying me. I'm kind of cloned. I was the only lawyer they knew. In any event, one of the statements that was used in the trial, mainly cops taking evidence at meetings, was how can you blame the whip and not the person who wields the whip? That was against the position of it's the system, which we would say, and they're saying you're blaming the system, but not the people who make the system work. In any event, the trial collapsed in the end, but I never forgot that phrase. But in a sense, we were blaming the whips, and a system in which people use whips. And that's one reason, very specific reason, why I was so pleased when our court abolished corporal punishment and capital punishment and brutal means to try and make our society more civilized. In 1990, just when things are changing, I'm interviewed by Anthony Lewis for the New York Times. And Albie, you're going back to South Africa now. You must feel really angry. The people who blew you up, cost your arm, I'm sure. You want some kind of accountability on their part. And I said, Tony, you know, I've always thought, even when I was in solitary confinement, there was something wrong with me. I didn't feel rage about the guards. I felt I'm a failure. There's a deficit. I'm a weak revolutionary because I don't want to kill them. I don't imagine I've got a knife in my hand and I'm stabbing them in the back. You know, I felt there was something wrong with me. And maybe there is something wrong with me. I've got that genetic defect. I don't feel that rage and anger. I see it as a system. He said, you can relax, Albie. I've spoken to Nelson Mandela. He said more or less the same thing. I've spoken to Kathrada. He said more or less the same thing. To Sisulu, more or less the same thing. So it was a culture. We were fighting for an ideal, for a new society, for transformation, for a constitution, for values. That's much bigger than getting at the individuals. Much more powerful. I call it soft vengeance. It's much more powerful, actually. It's very empowering because it's a triumph for your ideals and what you were standing for, and it's a validation of the lives of those who never made it. It's a validation for your daddy in that sense. So that explains more of my kind of spirit. And the other part of me is, I don't know, the writer, the artist, the human being, the joker. I'm curious. Who is this guy? What does he look like? What makes him tick? You know, how can we be on this earth together? A kind of fascination in a way. A bond through, if you like, the tragedy of the attack. And in a sense, I sanitized it by not thinking about other people he might have killed, who weren't maybe volunteers, who didn't live through it all. I don't know, but I don't venture into that area. I make it in that sense, you know, you and me kind of a thing.
I wish I could sit here all night and listen to these wonderful people. But we also want to give you an opportunity to be part of this conversation. And so I'm going to call on Professor Pumla Gobodo Madikizela to handle this part for us.
Thank you very much, Stan, and thanks to you, Judge Albie and Candice. I'll take advantage of my chair as the moderator and ask the first question. To both of you, when you were telling your story, there's something that both of you said, and it made me wonder about this idea of the emergence of the human, the emergence of something human in people that we encounter. For you, it was the moment when de Kock said, how can I, if you've done the kinds of things that I've done, how can I even think about forgiving myself? And that for you was the human moment, was the moment that you connected with him. And Albie, you, as you were describing what happened to you and reflecting on Candice's story, you said something about what the Truth Commission tried to do, that the Truth Commission was creating this space for us to tell our stories, for us to listen to one another. And it occurs to me that that is the most important thing, that when we listen to one another, there's something unexpected that emerges in that space when we are looking into one another's eyes and listening to what you do. There's something, the emergence of something unexpected at that moment. And I wonder, Judge Albie, when you say that for you it's not forgiveness, there's something else. I think you said something else. I like that. You know, there's something else. And could you say something about that something else, that notion of something else?
I see two interconnected things. The term, I've been searching for a term, I call it transcendence. But that explains the journey, but not the energy. And part of the energy is, again, I'm going to tell you another story to explain it. I'm locked up in solitary confinement. Nothing to do. Stare at your toes, the wall, your toes, the wall, your toes, the wall, your toes, the wall, and 3 minutes have passed, and you're in for 90 days, another 90 days, another 90. It's an inhuman existence. And the only activity that I can do, other than sing and whistle and move around and do exercises and so on, but that's external to myself, is I'm allowed the Bible. And I ration myself 2.5 columns a day. So I don't want to get through it too quickly. And I knew passages from the Bible, stories from the Bible. We used to recite the Lord's Prayer, we sang hymns at school. But now I'm reading from the beginning, literally from the beginning, all the way through. I actually got as far as the Old Testament and then the 4 Gospels. And then, luckily for me, the station commander comes in, he's waving a piece of paper. If they'd listened to me, this would never have happened. And I'm reading the paper, and I can't read across the page. My eyes are so used to going down the page, and it says in the Supreme Court of South Africa, Cape of Good Hope Provincial Division, but I was in Schiphol, and then I realize it's a court decision, and I see my name. And the 2 judges, Van Vincent and Banks, ordered that I be allowed reading matter, writing material. That's why I'm here today, I think. I think that maybe I would have collapsed so much that I would never have got through and had the energy and vitality to survive and carry on. Any event, so now I'm reading the Bible, and I'm struck by how harsh so much of it is. The smiting, the destroying your enemies, and killing every cow and chicken, and I'm looking for consolation, and I'm finding a merciless Lord. It really distresses me. And then the beautiful Song of Songs and Solomon, and a period of opening up, embracing Queen of Sheba, and then it's back to smiting and being smitten and exile. And then the prophets. Beautiful, beautiful language. And then the famous piece by Isaiah. And the lion will lay down with the lamb, and especially the swords will turn into plowshares. And I think that's part of what, when we are at our best in South Africa, is taking the swords. The swords are us. We are the swords, and we are the plowshares. So it's not, you know, when we had to decide where to put up the new Constitutional Court, and Jan Kriegler and I, we said, oh, the old Fort Prison, we just knew it had to be there. Emotionally, historically, there were other reasons as well. People said, how can you put up the court and the prison? Knock it down. It's a site of pain and misery and horror. Get rid of it and build something new to show that we've advanced. And we said, no, that's our history. Our pain is in that building, also the hope. Both Gandhi and Mandela were locked up there. We South Africans can brag. We have the only prison in the world where both Gandhi and Mandela were locked up. And Albert Lutuli and Oliver Tambo and Fatima Meer and so many other people. And that's turning the sword into a plowshare. It's embracing, encouraging, not encouraging, entering into, acknowledging our history, but not being trapped in it, turning that energy around into something positive. That's why part of my joy at surviving is maybe a little bit revived, given a boost when I meet Henry. There's something triumphant about it, in the sense of triumphant in what human idealism can achieve and what a society, when it organizes the space and the institutions, the opportunities for people to express their humanity, what we can achieve. And so these are the themes for me then. It's the transformatory dimension of it, which leads to a sort of transcendence. And it's us who's doing it. And it's that kind of special pride we have in making our constitution and getting the institutions, and we're doing it. It's just us all over the country. And I think that's what is the source of the power and the source of my personal, if you like, tranquility.
And what to say about every time you meet Henry, you get energized. I think there's something in that too that speaks to this issue of how it becomes possible for a person like you to have that kind of, to shake Henry's hand. That is, you're shaking Henry's hand, but you also, it's almost like also a hope and optimism, as someone said, that there's an optimism that Henry has actually changed. That you're seeing him, you want, you want to see him as the Henry that you think you can walk the streets, in our country with, a person who has changed. And I see, it seems to me that it's something similar. I've heard you speak about Eugene de Kock. It's not as if it's a story that's out there. You met him, you were moved to the extent that you were able to share with us. What I want to find out, perhaps maybe if you could speak both about when you look at him now, or when you think about him, I know that you're thinking about going to see him again. What inspires you? What is it that moves you to go back to Eugene de Kock? If you can speak about that, but also about, when Judge Albie was speaking to you, he mentioned that you embraced the humanity. He says, your embrace and your almost like the elegance of the spirit of embracing a person like Eugene de Kock. Isn't there something also like a contradiction? I know that Judge Albie talked about you embracing the contradictions. Isn't there a moment of, as you are moving towards him, isn't there something else that pulls you back, that says, no, this can't be right? Can you talk to us about just the ambivalence, just the contradiction, as you moving towards him? What are these moments of yes and no?
Thank you. I think when I went to the University of the Free State the last time to deliver a talk, the one word we actually stumbled upon, myself and you, was the word investment. And we both liked that word so much because it was actually, for the first time in my mind, I could kind of link what I was feeling. Because Prapumla and I were speaking, and I think she said, so it's a form of investing in him to become a better person. And that's exactly what it is. When you meet someone that has done so many bad things, and the spirit, I'll use the term forgiveness, but the spirit of forgiving that person is investing in that person, because by saying I forgive you, you are trusting that they will not repeat the actions that they've done. Therefore, it is an investment, because now you all of a sudden you want to know, what is this person going to do from this moment on? So, and you did touch on the fact that I am gonna see him again, and I think for me it is again to see that investment coming to fruition, to see, okay, now that you've gotten your parole, are you still the same human being that I saw in prison, or have you changed? But it's more for my own sense of sanity. I don't think it's got anything to do with him, you know, from this stage forward. What was the other? The contradictions. Now the contradictions, I mean, there are so many. And it's more an emotional contradiction, because your mind tells you this is what society says you should embrace, and this is what society says you must do. And all of us grow up according to society's standards and rules in order to be civilized human beings. And so when I shocked myself, I must say, when I asked him for a hug, that was just the emotional part of me speaking. And I genuinely just wanted to embrace him, just to embrace that brokenness within him and kind of comfort him, you know, and I didn't realize that the hug would end up comforting me just as much. And so it is that sense of contradiction where your mind tells you, like just after the hug, it was like, whoa, what am I doing? Is this even normal? Am I normal? Like, you know, like, should I be allowed into society? You know, maybe I'm a little cuckoo. And it is that crazy factor, because you think, this is what people say I should have done. This is what I believe society expects of me, but this is what my heart is saying is right. And of course, I ended up following my heart and not my mind. So that is where the contradiction really comes in.
Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, there's a first hand just shot up just right there. Is there a microphone there? Oh, use one of these two.
Thanks, Puma.
Say who you are.
Muriel Hoyun from Africom. Thanks, Candice and Judge Albie. One aspect that seems to be missing from all this is remorse. And you can forgive in a very kind of noble way, but you know, I have a feeling that I'm not convinced that the cop was really remorseful. Did he just do it because he wanted to get out of prison early? And as for Henry, he probably just wanted to feel better about himself. Whereas if he came into your office and really showed remorse, I'm sure that at a human level, it'll be easier to forgive.
I'll give you a little break. I've only met him twice, but I carry him around with me because he's in a film that was made on my life. And it's a price he pays for trying to kill me. That years later, now he's in this film and I show it all over the world and I talk about it and people ask me about him. He's trapped and I don't pay him royalties for it at all. It wasn't easy on either occasion. You know, I'm glad he didn't express remorse. For me, that wasn't really what it was about. It was getting our country right. Our country had embarked on a very extraordinary process for all sorts of reasons, some of which are mentioned, some are very pragmatic. We didn't have the evidence. Who do you prosecute? The person who pulled the trigger, the person who sold the gun, the informer who gave the information, the general in command, the politician, you know, that was another kind of an issue.